Have you ever considered what is the best gift you can give your employees? It was the typical work from home day, and I was wearing the typical work from home attire. You know, I was perfectly dolled up from the waist up with a beautiful blouse, full coverage makeup, and even fake eyelashes. At the bottom, though, I was wearing super soft, not matching tights, cozy, hot pink socks, and the warmest slippers ever. I was working very hard in an executive presentation when all of a sudden I heard the doorbell ring. I wasn't expecting anybody, so when I opened the door and I saw it was Caleb, one of my first employees, I was surprised because the guy lives 90 minutes away from my home. But I was really confused as to why he had a square black box in his hand. He handed me the box. It was heavy. And when I saw what was inside of it, I started to feel like a marshmallow over an open fire. My heart started to melt and tears started rolling down my face. It didn't matter that my makeup was getting all ruined or that I was completely vulnerable in front of an employee. Because the more I stared at the content of this box, the more I realized this time, Caleb has really done it. Do you want to know what was inside the box? It was a sparkling diamond, shaped paperweight, with an engraving that read, Carmen, mentor, leader, friend. She did more to help me realize my professional potential than anyone ever. Whew. Wow. After 2 decades of leadership, this was the first time I had confirmation that my job as a leader mattered. Despite of the power struggles that Caleb and I had during the first 3 years we worked together, this time I knew my leadership style has elevated and transformed his life. And that was exactly the moment I realized the best gift you can give your employees is to care about them beyond KPIs and metrics. Fast forward with me to 2 years after that amazing gift and visit from Caleb, to the point where I was at the end of my rope. I was feeling completely the opposite, this time not as a leader, but as an employee myself, feeling undervalued, underappreciated, and like nobody cared. And as crazy this is gonna sound, that situation almost led me to die. I was working more than 80 hours a week. 3 cups of coffee a day were not enough to get me going. I was physically, mentally, and emotionally exhausted. Weekends and vacations were not enough to recharge my batteries anymore. I was completely depleted from the daily migraines and quite annoyed by the nonstop itching from the hives that were covering my entire body. And you're right, I should have listened to my body. But ironically, I found that working that hard gave me comfort and pride. And it wasn't until I found myself scared and crying because I just learned that I had actively bleeding stomach ulcers that were about to kill me, that I realized that even though I was at the top of my game and this close to the C-level ranks that I have been pursuing my entire life, I had to quit my career if I wanted to survive. Don't take me wrong, it wasn't just about me quitting my job. My family suffered. My teams lost their caring leader. The company lost one of the highest performing employees they had, and some people left because I did. I am pretty sure that whole situation resulted in a negative financial impact for the organization. And as I stood there watching what was happening almost from a detached point of view, there was this thought popping in my head, like the bubbles of a carbonated drink. I have been burnt out before, and it didn't turn out that way. So what was different this time? In my first burnout story, I had in my corner a leader that cared. And that helped me navigate through the situation so my family, my teams, my company, and my community didn't have to experience any extreme consequences of me burning out. Instead, I came back from that situation stronger, committed, determined, inspired to create the same environment for my teams, birthing the leader that Caleb described in that engraved crystal paperweight. And so I stood there reflecting in these two contrasting burnout stories, and I emerged determined to never, ever, ever burn out again. And I went on a mission of research, analysis, and reflection to understand two things. First, why burnout kept happening to me. But secondly, to discover a way that I could help other leaders prevent burnout for themselves and their teams. The first year in my journey, I discovered something fascinating. I wasn't the only one burning out. In fact, a survey from Asana reveals that 70% of employees report being burned out every year. Ladies and gentlemen, 70% is a huge number. Then I stumbled into an article in Forbes titled, you're gonna love this, When Childhood Trauma Shows Up at the Workplace. And that's when everything clicked for me. It turned out the reason we burn out is not because our work environment, but because our subconscious self-conditioning, which is just a fancy term to explain the unintended behaviors that we as humans use to survive after childhood trauma. In my case, my subconscious self-conditioning drove me to crave praise and recognition like it was going out of style. My never-ending feeling of inadequacy drove me to become a workaholic, like many high achievers do, craving the dopamine rush that every complete project, presentation, and new accomplished task give us. Now that I'm on the other side of burnout, I like to look at that like an addiction, when you always have to increase the dose so you can feel the same rush and the same effect until it becomes unmanageable. So it turns out, thankfully, that I didn't love working myself to death. But the feeling of inadequacies coming from my childhood experiences conditioned me to work hard so I could avoid pain and survive. So the question I have for you today is it possible that your childhood experiences have conditioned you to do the same? In my journey, I learned that when we go through situations that are too painful to feel, we tend to indulge in behaviors to numb them. And guess what? Work is one of the most socially accepted mechanisms to do so. I also learned that if we want to prevent burnout, we have to bring awareness to the beliefs that were caused by events that our mind has labeled as dangerous. From where? Yeah, you got it. From our childhood years. And this is actually something that you see in every environment. It happens all the time. And that's when it comes to me, that the reason that we cannot prevent burnout is because we don't know what we don't know. And so that's why we need a person outside of the situation to guide us through the burnout story. The storm that is going to affect every area of your life. But because it normally starts to show up at work, who will be in a better position to guide you through that storm, that roller coaster of events, than a leader who cares? And that philosophy is not only beneficial for individuals, but also for organizations. In fact, a recent study by Gallup and LeadX on employee experience reveals that Your Manager Cares is now a top 5 driver on employee experience, engagement. And highly engaged teams are 21% more productive and experience 28% less turnover than those with low engagement. That's also according to Gallup. The sad part is that 63% of employees feel the employers don't care about themselves, about them, just like I did. And that was confirmed in a survey by one poll on behalf of Bonusly. Now, I have all this information at my fingertips, so I was inspired to create a framework that I could use to share with leaders across all industries, in corporations, communities, and at home. And I name it the CARES Leadership Framework. In this framework, the C stands for compassion, which is the ability to empathize and act with kindness towards the needs and struggles of others. Then we have the A for authenticity, which is the ability to create trust and transparent connection with your team members so you can generate that open communication that everyone wants. Next, we have the R for resourcefulness, which is not only looking outside of you to find solutions, but tapping into your intuition, which will guide you with adaptability and insight to very hard situations. Then we have the E for empowerment, which is creating environments where your teams are eager to take on initiative, contribute to the organization with their unique skills, and realize their full potential. And last but not least, we have the S for support, which is the guidance that exceptional leaders provide their teams to foster professional and personal growth. After sharing this framework with over 100 leaders across diverse industries, I noticed that there are 5 straightforward questions that highlights one's alignment with the CARES Leadership Framework. And today, I'm eager to share those questions with you. As I do so, I invite you to mentally respond with a simple yes or no. And if possible, keep tally of your responses so you can gain an understanding on where you are with relationship with this framework. Are you ready? Yeah. Here we go. Question number 1. Do you stop to understand how your team members feel when they are facing challenges? Question number 2. When you're facing leadership situations, decisions that you have to make, do you look to be able to consistently tap into your core values, whether you are at the office or somewhere else? Question number 3. Are you tapping into your gut feeling to make decisions? Question number 4. Does your team feel eager to take on new tasks and make decisions? And question number 5. Is your team safe to share with you not only successes, but also challenges? If you find yourself responding no to any of these questions, please do me a favor. Don't beat yourself up. This is a powerful moment of self-awareness, and it highlights an opportunity to go deep into the transformative principles of the CARES Leadership Framework. Realizing areas that need your attention is the first step towards creating a leadership style that is not only going to benefit you, but is also going to help you mitigate and even prevent burnout. Besides, this is how you get to transform lives. And like that research from Gallup revealed, this is how successful companies create high-performing teams. I invite you to take this opportunity as a catalyst for positive change, as each no is an invitation to explore and enhance your own leadership approach. And because of the results I have seen in my own journey and with my corporate consulting clients, I stand here today and I can confidently affirm that the CARES Leadership Framework is how you get to transform lives, just like I did with Caleb and so many others throughout my journey. And this is how you get to become an exceptional leader.